The illusion of choice. Our last episode, we followed the money. We exposed the legal bribe, the direct financial pipeline that turns politicians into puppets for corporate power. But a puppet show requires an audience. It requires a crowd so captivated by the drama unfolding on stage that they never think to look up at the hands controlling the strings. We are that audience, and the most brilliant trick the system ever pulled was convincing us that we are not mere spectators, but active participants in a grand competition. They sold us the most seductive and disempowering lie of all, the illusion of choice. We are given a ballot and told to choose between two sides, never realizing that both sides are owned by the same bank, answer to the same donors, and are performing in the same play to keep us divided, distracted, and utterly powerless. And this is not an accident of democracy. It is the precision engineering of a corporatocracy. It is a staged conflict, a political WWE smackdown where the rivalry is scripted, the outcome is predetermined, but the emotional investment from the crowd is devastatingly real. To understand this illusion, we must pull back the curtain and examine the machinery of this false duality. It is not merely that the two parties are similar, it is that they are two branded products in a tightly controlled market designed to capture the entire electorate and prevent any real alternative from emerging. The process begins long before you enter the voting booth. It starts with the primary system and the gatekeepers of media. A candidate who truly threatens the established order, who refuses corporate PAC money, who speaks of dismantling the military-industrial complex, or of holding the banking system accountable, is systematically marginalized. They are labeled unelectable, fringe, or radical by the very pundits whose careers are funded by the system. They are denied airtime, or when they do appear, they are treated with condescension and skepticism. The deck is stacked from the outset to ensure that by the time the general election arrives, the serious candidates are without exception those who have pledged allegiance to the status quo. Let's take a specific, hypothetical, but chillingly realistic example. Imagine a critical issue, the endless expanding budget for the national security state. The Pentagon has failed its fifth consecutive audit, unable to account for trillions of dollars. A genuine debate would question the very necessity of such a bloated, unaccountable budget. But here is the two-party charade in action. The Republican candidate goes on television. He wears a flag pin, speaks in a deep, resonant voice, and says, "We must give our brave troops every resource they need to keep us safe from our enemies. I support the full defense budget. To do less is to surrender." The Democratic candidate goes on a different network. She also wears a flag pin. She speaks with measured concern and says, "We must support our troops, but we must also be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I propose a 1% reduction in the rate of growth of the defense budget, and we will reinvest that in veterans' health care." The media frames this as a stark contrast, a great debate, but step back and look at the reality. Both candidates agree on the fundamental premise: the massive, unaudited budget must continue to grow. The debate is over a rounding error, a theatrical disagreement over a fraction of a percent. The system itself is never questioned. The corruption is never addressed. The choice is between full speed ahead and full speed ahead, but maybe with a slightly different moral justification. This is the illusion. It's a choice between two different brands of the same product, both manufactured in the same factory. This is reinforced by the revolving door we discussed, which ensures that regardless of which party wins, the people who actually run the government, the cabinet secretaries, the agency heads, the regulators, are drawn from the same small pool of corporate lobbyists, think tank fellows, the Wall Street insiders. The faces at the podium change, but the hands on the levers of power remain the same. And this forces us to confront with even greater urgency the core question of this series. When the charade is so transparent, when the choices are so hollow, why do we allow this to continue? Why do we allow this to continue? We allow it because the psychology of tribal identity. Humans are hardwired for tribalism. We have a deep evolutionary need to belong to a group. The two-party system hijacks this instinct. It gives us a team, red or blue, and provides us with a prefabricated identity, a set of beliefs, and most importantly, a designated enemy. Being a Democrat or a Republican becomes part of who we are. To question the party feels like a betrayal of our tribe, our family, our very self. We would rather be loyal to a corrupt team than be alone and sovereign. The system offers us a cozy, warm blanket of belonging, and in exchange, it demands our critical faculties. Second, we allow it because of the fear of the other. This is the engine of the tribal machine. We are not just voting for our candidate, we are voting against the monstrous, caricatured version of the other side. The media and the political machines pour billions into advertising and commentary designed to make you feel terrified of what will happen if the other team wins. They will destroy democracy. They will institute socialism. They will take your guns. They will ban your religion. This manufactured fear is a powerful drug. It makes you hold your nose and vote for the lesser of the two evils, election after election, because the alternative is presented as unthinkable cataclysm. You are not choosing a future you want. You are choosing a nightmare you fear slightly less. But the most profound reason we allow this to continue, sunk cost fallacy of the soul. We have invested so much of our identity, our emotional energy, and our time into this political sport. We've argued with family, ended friendships, spent countless hours watching news cycles and debating online to admit that it was all a sham, that our fervent participation was in a game designed to make us powerless. It is a psychologically devastating realization. It is easier to double down on the belief that our team is the good one than to face the terrifying truth that we have been cheering for a rigged game all along. Our investment in the illusion becomes the very thing that prevents us from seeing it. So how do we break free from this collective psychosis? How do we withdraw our consent from this stage play? The strategy is not to find a better candidate within the duopoly. It is to exit the theater entirely and build a new stage where real performance can take place. The first, most liberating step is to renounce your tribal citizenship. Declare yourself independent, not just on your voter registration, but in your mind and in your heart. Make a conscious decision that you will no longer be a Democrat or a Republican. See these not as political parties, but as competing branding agencies for the corporate state. When you share this identity, their primary tool of manipulation, tribal loyalty, loses all power over you. You are no longer playing their game. The second step is to withhold your vote as an act of protest. This is a radical and misunderstood concept. We are told that not voting is a sin, that it is surrendering your voice. But what is the value of a voice that can only ever choose between two pre-approved options? When you refuse to vote for either candidate in a rigged duopoly, you are not being silent. You are sending the most powerful message possible. I do not consent. This system does not represent me. Starve them of the legitimacy that your participation provides. A low voter turnout in a system like this is not a sign of apathy. It is a sign of a populace that has recognized the con. Let me repeat that. A low voter turnout in a system like this is not a sign of apathy. It is a sign of a populace that has recognized the con. The third step is to divert your political energy locally. The national spectacle is a lost cause, a black hole for your hope and effort. Instead, pour that energy into your city council, your school board, your neighborhood association. These are places where your voice can still have a direct impact, where you can see tangible results, and where you can build a foundation of a parallel society based on cooperation, not manufactured conflict. Build community gardens, local business alliances, and mutual aid networks. This is where real sovereignty is built, not in the voting booth, but in your own neighborhood. And finally, champion electoral reform that breaks the duopoly stranglehold. Advocate for ranked choice voting, which eliminates the spoiler effect and allows for multiple parties to compete on a level playing field. Support open debates that include independent and third-party candidates. The goal is to shatter the two-party monopoly and create a truly competitive, multipolar political landscape where genuine choice becomes possible. The illusion of choice is the master switch for the entire machine. It is a mechanism that makes us complicit in our own subjugation, convincing us that we are free because we can pull one of two levers, both of which are connected to the same engine control. The moment we see the stage for what it is, the moment we stop cheering for these actors and start looking at the puppeteers, the entire show grinds to a halt. We have now exposed the three core strategies of the government cancer: the weaponized bureaucracy, the legal bribe, and this, the grand illusion of choice. But the cancer is not confined to the state. It has metastasized. In our next episode, we'll turn our diagnosis to the second great tumor, the corporatocracy. We will examine the corporate person and uncover how a legal fiction was granted the rights of a human being, but with none of the soul, conscience, or capacity for mercy. We will see how this psychopathic entity has become the true ruler of this world, our world.